Will there be any more like local free football pitches with local tournaments as well?
I'd certainly like to see that. I mean, there's, in fact, recently I met with someone who wants to put a bid in to get going with a local football team. There's also, I met the other day, there's a field up near Wood End Lane, Jaffray playing fields, that gets used by a local football team fairly extensively. And there's another couple of other pitches around that get used. Now, I would be happy to support any more of that if the opportunity came around. I mean, one of the things I think is really important about youth services, it's not just about the council coming in and saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I would like to look for opportunities to work with local community groups, local voluntary sector groups who'd be willing to run those services. We can provide the funding. They can often do it cheaper, they can often do it better, because they're actually based at the local grassroots. They know what the young people want. They work with them and they can say, we want to do this, can you fund it? And if there's any more of that available, I'm certainly happy to support it.
Oh. Well, we're also thinking as well, if we were to have more youth clubs and that, then we'd have to travel there, and the bus fare is quite expensive for a student to be having to catch the bus, say they need to go to school in the morning and then have to go out after school as well. And we're just wondering why the price of public transport for students is so hard.
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly why it's so high, to be perfectly honest. I couldn't tell you the rationale behind the pricing. You get a discount, I assume, but the discount isn't enough. Is that no?
Because it's gone up to, they go up all the time now, and they just for a short hop, which is just 3 stops, it's 75p.
That is quite expensive, yeah. No, I can see why that would be a problem. The price of a great many things has gone up recently, and again, it's all about public services having less money. Yeah, they're trying to claw it all in. I would say that I personally, actually, I don't want to sort of sound evasive or vague, but I want to go away and have a look at that and find out why it's gone up and why it's such a problem. In my view, the cost of travel for students should be as low as possible, really. I don't want to see students travelling, going to great expense to travel, certainly not to get an education. And I don't want to see students having to work all the hours God sends just to fund their daily living expenses to get that. So I couldn't tell you why it's gone up. I certainly wouldn't support it going up. Sometimes I know things do have to go up. But if there are any way to get it to go down, then I would support that, certainly. It's very important that students are able to access facilities without it impinging on their income.
With the buses as well, the times are they're never on time, and on a Sunday they take an hour to get to you. Is there anything you could change there?
Yeah, I mean, the buses have never been on time, frankly. When I used to make the journey to what was then Josiah Mason College on the Stockland Green School site, I was always running into trouble with buses constantly. So they've never been on time. They will plan their journeys, plan their routes based on demand. Yeah, so basically they'll say, well, we'll run 1 an hour because there's aren't enough people to justify 2 an hour. Now, if they've got it wrong, if there's a certain bus route that you think is only comes once an hour and then it's rammed, then we can look at that. I can certainly make sure that's raised, because they don't always get it right. They will make mistakes. They will not look at things properly, and they'll try and cut costs and penny pinch. So part of my role as your local councillor is if there are specific bus routes, specific times where you think they're not laying on a good enough service, then I'll try and help you address that.
Well, that would be very appreciated. Yeah. There's also another thing about employment, how people of our age are all worried about how many GCSEs they need to get employed and stuff, and we're just wondering why what employers are regarding the GCSE.
What employers are regarding in terms of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean that's going to vary from sector to sector, to be honest. I mean, it's not a good time for young people really who are leaving school at the moment. I can certainly understand those anxieties, and there isn't the kind of range of options, I think, that were available. Certainly when I left university, when I left school, which wasn't that long ago, but it seems long enough to me. There's more of a push, really, and has been a push to try and push you all towards university, and there's less emphasis on vocational options after you leave school. I think probably employers are saying that they the standards of literacy and numeracy, so that you get with the basic GCSEs, and Maths and English, aren't necessarily. People can come out with good GCSEs and in Maths and English without necessarily being able to speak and write and add up in the way that they might want. And I know that some things have been done to try and address that. Personally, what I'd like to see is less of a push towards towards going to university, because I think there's been too much of that, and you've got too many very, very well qualified people coming out of university, having spent years at university, and they come out and the jobs aren't there really for a degree. You know, you've spent all this time getting a degree, all this money as well, because you have to borrow a lot of money really to get that. And then you come out at the end of it and you go and work in a call centre. I know plenty of people that have done that.
I think that's what everyone's worried about, like having to put all that hard work in and not getting anything out of it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, to be honest, I think we need to have less of a hang-up about saying people have to go to university. I think what's very important is that people from deprived backgrounds shouldn't be stopped from going to university because of money. I think, you know, if you're intelligent enough and if you've got the talent, then you should have that funded. Absolutely. And then you have to get into a debate about, you know, how that where the cut-off is, all of that. So, you know, there's obviously a very complicated issue to look at there. But at the same time, the answer isn't just saying, well, everyone should go to university. Send you all to university and then come out and you work in call centres and office administrators. Yeah. I've had loads of office administrators I've worked with, incredibly well qualified, intelligent people. They come out of university and they're a secretary for 3 years. I mean, what is the point? You know, what is the point? So we need to move away from doing that at university, and we need to look at vocational courses. We need to look at apprenticeships. We need to look at removing that stigma really from not going to university, because it's not the be all and end all. And then allied to that, you've got to actually have the jobs there in the first place, and the jobs aren't there at the moment. And the best thing that government can do, which is, in my view, what we saw last week, is the government has actually said what they're going to do is reduce taxes on business. But they're not just doing it across the board. If you want to start a business or run a business outside London now, then you will have a lesser tax rate than you would in London. And that's because London's actually doing all right comparatively, and we've relied on London and the South East for financial services to keep this economy going for far too long. And we need to have incentives for businesses to base themselves in Birmingham and to create jobs in Birmingham. And having lower tax rates, having less of a burden on them, is one of the things you can do, probably the most important thing.